Hello and good evening. It's that time again. Nobody ahead of me, just traffic. And nobody behind me, just traffic, so it's all good. Right, so I'm not wearing weights tonight because I'm actually walking to cool down as opposed to exercising. I speed walk to my training session tomorrow for exercise. So I'm just been in the flat all day where it's been hot, so I'm just walking to cool down, I said. So it's been a while since I've done a video, a few days at least. So I'm just gonna talk about the events of today. Actually, not the events of the day today, but sort of the events of the last couple of days, which culminated today with some, if you like, a few breadcrumbs from God. So the past couple of days, it's been, leave them alone, it's not your business. You know, that kind of talk that I'm so familiar with. Right, so the question I will ask is, I don't like to say you, so I'm going to say we. Are we satisfied with the state of the world and the direction in which the world is going? The answer is a resounding no. There are always people complaining about what's happening in society. You can't say this, you can't say that. And I keep telling people I can say whatever I like. Sure, it's been a while, but you know, yeah, Facebook can ban me. But what power does Facebook have over my life? YouTube can take my video down. What power does YouTube have over my life? Again, I can use wearing a mask as the example. You can't get on public transportation unless you're wearing a mask. No problem, I'll walk. It's not my public transportation. You can't shop in here unless you're wearing a mask. No problem. Other shops are available. And in fact, I got to the point where I said, worst case scenario, I will starve sooner than be told that I must do something that I know is nonsense. Right, so there are people who were scared against their principles, ended up wearing masks and ended up taking vaccines against their principles because they were scared of what would happen to them, afraid of what man can do, right? And for me, it was never going to happen, right? And it hasn't. So anyways, as I said, the past couple of days, it's been leave them alone, it's not your business, everybody's different, blah, 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 right? And it's like, oh yeah, I'm so familiar with this, where I am the only person saying whatever it is that I'm saying. And just a thought, let's go back to the gym where I resigned. It's interesting that not a single person has stood up, and I don't need anybody to back me, because I've said before, when I get into a conflict situation, it's my fight. I don't need anybody to do any fighting for me or with me. But it's interesting that there are people who go to the gym who were long-time members who have opinions about the women, who told me how things were and have kept their mouths shut this behavior for me is quite fascinating from the standpoint that when things kick off and it begins to affect them and they become disaffected, and I use church as the example, they will come and find me. I've had this with church where I was very vocal. So I don't listen to people just because they're in an authority position. You need to be correct in what you're telling me. Otherwise I will not just ignore the advice or reject the advice rather, but I will tell you why I'm rejecting it. I'm not just going to go quietly. I'll tell you, no, God didn't tell you that, because that's usually what happens at church. Oh, God would like you to do such and such. And if I know that God didn't tell you that, I will tell you that God didn't say it. And you know, I used to offend people, leadership. I just used to offend everybody just by opening my mouth and speaking. So it's the same kind of situation. I find it quite fascinating that people will know that, in the case with these women, they know what they are, but they will keep quiet. So for me, when the time comes and people start coming to me, oh, you know, you were right, but this is what happens at church. Used to happen. You know, you were right. I'm going to laugh at them. I'm going to laugh and say, why are you telling me? And I know why they will be telling me. It's because they're looking for support. You see, because where I can stand up for myself and handle whatever people throw at me, the majority can't. They need somebody to hold their hand to support them through it. I don't need anybody to support me through anything. So, like for example, like going back to the mask thing, I didn't need anybody to hold the same opinion as me. I figured out that it was nonsense. And once I figured out it was nonsense, I held true to my position. And that was that. I didn't need anybody to support me through it. Same thing with the vaccine. Didn't need anybody to support me through it. It was something that I was never going to do. Right, so, gosh, I'm walking fast. So still, those shops still closed. Today's the 16th, I believe. And it's supposed to close until the 10th. Right, whatever. Okay, so that's my introduction. It's just people know better but keep quiet. So that's why our society is in the state that it's in. Because people who should have, I actually talk about this in the book, which was published 20 years ago. People know better, but they are too cowardly to open their mouths. They are afraid of what man can do to them, but not afraid of what God will do. So anyways, today I'm minding my own business. I'm sewing, and for recreation, or rather, because my sister's there, so I've got to, if you like, cater for her. So sometimes I have audiobooks, like when the Commonwealth Games was on, World Championships, whatever. I will listen, or I'll put whatever is available on, and we listen to that. But today there was nothing on, so I ended up on YouTube, and I was listening to a biography, and an advert came on. And it's a gentleman, and he's talking about, it's all science. I didn't go further than secondary school, but he was talking about how to solve the world's problems from a psychological perspective. which was very interesting. But then it was like a 1 hour and 6 minutes interview, and it was when he hit the 1 minute mark, the 1 hour mark, he started talking about the various movements, the political correct movement, the New Age movement, and socialism movement. And he was pretty much saying what I've been saying, except I come from the perspective of God, who provides inspiration. There's no better educator than God. So I've held my opinions independently, but at the point when we're sort of coming into the home stretch, God will sort of point me in the direction of other people, usually well-respected people, i.e. when I say well-respected, I mean people who are highly qualified in the field of the sciences. This man is a biologist, right? So these are people who are respected and who will get a listening ear. People only listen to me when their backs are against the wall. So, when they're going through something. So there was one other thing as well. I'm going to spare the details, but suffice to say I'm coming into the home straight, finishing off my blind, listening to the football, Liverpool versus Crystal Palace, which finished in a 1-1 draw. Interesting game. But what God pointed out to me, because he sort of quietly whispers to me, he pointed out to me that it's not possible to be living a happy life if you don't have your health, right? So here I am, I'm out walking, as I said, to cool down, but obviously it's doubling up as exercise. Even though I don't have the weights on, walking is still exercise. But I am proactive when it comes to having a healthy body, healthy spirit, and healthy mind, because I cannot go to God and ask him for anything concerning my health if I've not done the best that I'm able to do under whatever circumstances. Obviously, I'm restricted with the fact that I'm at my sister's place 2 years, sleeping on the sofa, and basically just restricted and limited as to certain things that I can do. With regards to gym, I was sort of, taking advantage of the pool. And I've already said I was using the sauna. I joined the gym specifically for the sauna, for my hair and skin. But what was I doing before that? You know what I mean? It's sort of like 50 years without coming in contact with the sauna. What was I doing before? I just revert to doing that again. So that was what he pointed out to me anyway. Because I think, all right, basically it's an effrontery, because there are people who don't believe in God in the way that I believe in God. And when I say I mean I only speak for myself. I can't speak on behalf of others. I don't know how they what God means to them. Even my sister, I wouldn't speak on her behalf, because she seems quite comfortable as she is. I observed this evening that she behaves differently with the carer than she does with me, but she knows I have a zero tolerance attitude towards sickness, that I wouldn't be in her position. I grew tired of people telling me, you don't know what's around the corner. It can happen to anyone. I don't believe that. I believe, some people believe in insurance policies because you never know. I don't have any insurance policies. I don't put my trust in what money can do to, not so much to save my life, but like for example, a life insurance policy isn't going to benefit me. It's going to benefit other people, right? It's just money that's going to go to other people. So I put my trust in God. God is my insurance policy. So it's very interesting when he starts telling me things. He starts pointing things to me like, by the way, you can't be happy if you don't have good health, right? And the other thing was I was having a conversation this morning, and the person I was speaking to was saying that, because I've said before about the fat women at the gym, and I use fat in the correct sense, that they have the idea that I look how I look because I don't have children. So he was saying that when women have children, their body changes. You see, I don't buy into that nonsense, because I buy into the fact that God is able to do all things. So even before I got to the point of having a child, I would be having the conversation with him and saying, I don't want you to ruin this. I don't want this thing that I'm going to do to ruin my body. And when I say that, I'm saying it from the perspective that these women would say, oh, you're so lucky, I wish I looked like you. How'd you manage to get your stomach like that? Right? So that means I'm not happy. You choose to go and have children, you bear the consequences. I don't have any. And I'm telling you, if I was going to go down that path, I would be having a conversation with God. This is why, again, the same person I was speaking to, I would only ever have a child if it was God's will. Because then he's accountable. And I am going to tell him that don't you dare destroy my body. Don't you dare destroy my physique. And people say, you can't talk to God like that. Of course I can. Of course I can. If he wants me to do something, then there are conditions. It is foolish to think, like for example with my sister's situation for 2 years, some people would call her brave. There's nothing brave about it. I'm the one doing all the work, right? Or they say, oh, you must really love your sister. I pointed that out to her again today. It's practicalities. You need help. It's nothing to do with love. It's just straight up practicalities. So, you know, when I say it's nothing to do with love, I had one woman, oh, that was cold. What you talking about? It's cold. There are people who would say that they love her and they've done sod all. They've done nothing towards helping her. Even she's been in the flat. She hasn't left the flat since March 2021. That's nearly 18 months since she's been outside. There are people who know what the situation is, who could actually come and take her out. They've never done it. They're happier sending their love. Give her my love. Give her a hug. Add all this crap. They've never actually physically done anything or practically done anything. You want to talk about love, right? So I come from a completely different perspective, on a completely different planet almost, when it comes to attitudes. So for example, like I said, sticking to God. I don't embark on something without first consulting him, and it says so in the Bible. Counsel with the Lord in all thy doings, and he shall direct thy path for good. I don't go and do things and then say, oh God, I stuffed up, can you help me? Things like that don't happen. So like I said, I'm out here walking, and I am, I mean, my Achilles tendons play up from time to time. So I am seeking some advice from him on that. But obviously, first of all, I try to figure it out myself with his help. He'll, at such a time as he's seen that I put in the effort, he will add to it. That's how it works. So there are things that people take for granted that I don't accept. And you know, it's the attitude that they're being humble, they're being Christ-like, they're being whatever. And sometimes I think God must be disgusted. Because it's sort of like, how is this glorifying him? How are people sort of looking at us, the believer, and thinking, wow, I want to be like them. I want to know their God. The whole point is that we are supposed to glorify him. So if we've fallen down to the same standards as the people who reject him, little wonder they can point the finger and laugh. People do point the finger at me and laugh, but there's that saying, he who laughs last laughs the loudest, the longest. Right, so I back myself. Anytime I open my mouth or commit something to writing, I back myself. I was told by the same person I was having the conversation with as regards women's bodies changing when they have babies. Good luck to them. I was also told yesterday that I think I'm always right. And in response I said, I'm always right as far as it concerns my life. Right, so I think because I do this personal development thing, obviously there's going to be growth. It's the difference between being a fun runner and an elite athlete. You, as a fun runner, don't take practice serious. You just do it for fun. An elite athlete does it seriously. They take the training seriously. So I'm out here walking up and down, as I said, to get cool, but as well exercising. And meanwhile, you know, this might be considered good for a regular person, but for an elite athlete, this is nothing, right? So it's about the progression. As you, well, I don't know about anybody else. I can't speak for anybody. I'm speaking for myself. But for me, it's a progression. And what I very rarely listen to YouTube these days because there's no progression. It's like you go on the YouTubers that you listened to 6 months ago, a year ago. They're still at the same level, pumping out the same material. And if you've progressed spiritually, intellectually, mentally, emotionally, or otherwise, you don't want to hear it. You're hearing the same, it's just repeat. It's like, I always used to use this example about church, because people would say, oh, we need the repetition. And I would say, I don't need it, because I heard it before. It's all right, I've grasped it. What next? Do you see? So I haven't been to church in almost 20 years, if not 20 years. And I guarantee you, it's the same lessons being repeated. And I guarantee there's no growth. I can guarantee, because that's what happens. If you just keep going around in circles, no growth. Again, these women at the gym who are proud to say they've been going 20 and 30 and 40 years, there is no growth, because all you're doing is going for your friendship circle. You're not going to improve your body, you're going for your friendship circle. That is, well, again, I speak for myself, that is not how I do life. So, I mean, there are things going on that I'm not going to discuss, because it's not anybody's business, right? And I don't want people to get an angle on what my next moves are going to be. But I as I've said with regards to my sister, she seems perfectly happy to be like that. But I think she's beginning to understand that my life is going to progress whether or not she gets better. Right? I'm not going to be staying in that situation with her. So whether it be the case that she's going to sort of take notice and get her act together, that's neither here nor there. Because my life is my life, her life is her life. My life is between me and God, her life is between her and God, if it be the case that that's how she sees it. So, that's pretty much that. But I need to do one more circuit. So let me see if I can think of anything else to add to that. So it's just literally, oh yes, I have to sort of finish what I was saying here with regards to the state of the world. So in general, people aren't happy with what's happening in the world. They're not. They're complaining about it. So, I mean, this is going to be really controversial. But this is something that God pointed out to me the other day as regards women. And I'm going to leave you to join the dots. So there are certain traditions that suppress women. And there's that saying, where the devil couldn't go, he sent a woman. Figure it out. Right? So like I said, some cultures, some religions, if you like and you want to look at it that way, suppress women. And there's a saying, where the devil couldn't go, he sent a woman. And if you look at, I said about this biologist who was given the interview, and where he said, he mentioned socialism, New Ageism, political correctness as attempts at trying to do good in society, do good for mankind, try to, not, he didn't say force, but I will use the word force, try to force humans to love one another, to be kind to one another. But you have to look at who is telling us to be kind, to be tolerant, to be loving, etc. Who is telling us? It is the people who will benefit from it. So they're doing it, and it has worked, and congratulations to them. They've played a blinder. It has worked from the perspective that people are afraid to open their mouths. And they're afraid to say what they know is true because of the consequences, because we're supposed to be kind, because. Right, so that's what's happened. So the very people who are benefiting from laying out the rules, really with a mind to control people, to make them easier to get whatever it is that they want to roll out in society, to condition them in such a way that it's very easy to, again, you can look at the masks. You had people who are still wearing them. Interestingly, I don't see the blue mask anymore. I see different types. But the people who thought it was virtuous to wear a mask, I'm saving your life by wearing a mask, that type, and trying to enforce it on others. I never came across anybody like that. A couple of women did try to say something to me, and I invited one of them to step off the bus if she thinks she's bad. But she went down, it's a white woman, she went down the route of black people are violent. I'm not violent, it's just that if you want to talk rubbish to me, then we can settle it off the bus, because the bus is not my domain. The street belongs to us all. So that's all I was saying. So, but yeah, I digressed. But that's why I'm saying I've never come under subjugation. That's never happened to me. I did the video the other day, the one godly parenting or something, and I talked about the fact that God sent me here. That's what my father told me. God sent me to him with my character intact, and he wasn't to change me. So even as a child, I didn't comply to authority just because. I have to know why I'm complying. I have to believe in it. And not just that, but no amount of threatening to fine me, to lock me up or anything is going to get me to submit if I know that what you're telling me is nonsense, right? So that's how I roll. So again, going back to the gym. So when the manager was talking to me, I knew that I wasn't going to stay, because I could see him wanting to exert authority over me. And I'm thinking, who does this man think he is? You're just somebody who runs a gym. You're nobody, right? So the only option was to resign. And that's how you take power away from people, because they would like to say to you, all right, you need to leave. You can't come back, or put sanctions on you. You can stay as long as you behave yourself. That kind of thing. You take power by walking. That's what you do, right? So again, same thing with church, same thing anywhere you go. Workplace, you can have a tyrannical employer, and as long as you're in his office, his factory, whatever, he can tell you what to do. He can wield unrighteous authority over you. You tell him to stick his job up his backside, and there's nothing he can do about it. Nothing at all. So, I don't necessarily, I personally, I know why people don't comply. It's because of cowardice. But the whole point is, it's not even a question of putting your trust in God. You just look and you see that people are the same as you. I asked a question in the book, why are people afraid of people? So it's like me walking around the street in the nighttime. I'm not afraid of what's going to happen. Occasionally some guy will stop the car and want to talk to me, invite me on a date or something. I'm not afraid to say what I need to say to him. Even to the point if he takes offense, that's his problem. I'm not afraid. So that's it. So anyways, it's been interesting. And so bottom line, you cannot have health problems and be happy. That's it. It's an insult to God to say that you believe in him. But thy will be done. I'll just stay here and be sick. In what way does that glorify him? If you believe in Jesus, you should understand that when he healed people, he didn't say, all right, go over there, take 2 tablets and you'll be well in a couple of weeks or whatever. He told the man who was paralyzed to take up his bed. Get up, take up your bed and walk. He didn't say sort of like, oh, in a couple of weeks, here, go to the hospital, they'll look after you. Take up your bed and walk. It's instant, right? So if people want to be there thinking that they're doing God a favor or showing how humble and accepting they are, I'm afraid they have it twisted. Don't work like that. So I'm just concluding my walk now, which is uphill. And that's it. Nothing further to add. So, have a good night. Look after yourselves and keep healthy. Take care. Bye-bye.